Okay, we're back. Right now, that was just to kind of frame it again, or to give us a little kind of quick reminder. The key thing when we think of AI is we really need to try to demystify it. And I talk about the hype, the hysteria, the horror, and the help. Now, remember, we're all about that idea of, we want to talk about application, innovation, value, all this stuff, working the problem. That's what we're interested in. However, just to put it in frame, the first thing is we need to understand that AI is an umbrella term. Okay, it's used all the time. I get it, but it's an umbrella term. And this is just some of them here, okay? The key thing here is that these are all different like, subfields or subsets, if you like, of AI. Now, while we're not interested in really getting to the under the hood stuff, that's for the guys who are the far more technical experts in this, who build these models, and we're all interested in the working the problems, I say, getting innovation and the solutions for business. It's good for you to kind of understand that it's a far more complicated area than you think. Okay, most importantly, when we talk about machine learning, well, that's a classic subset where basically the AIs here, they're learning from data, okay, without the explicit programming, right? More importantly, you then get ideas of deep learning. This is again how it uses what we've got here again, neural networks, okay? So this is a classic issue of using neural networks, which are really again, they are the what you call predecessors to that word in Chat GPT. Generative pre-trained transformer. That's what the T stands for. That transformer. Well, neural networks they are basically design sequential data. They take sequential data, but transformers they are one of the more revolutionizing neural networks, right? That used to underpin a lot of these large language models in AI, such as ChatGPT, such as Llama, such as Claude, right? Like that. And what the transformers do, they're a particular specialist type of neural network that really enables this idea of sequential data, and it can do it and summarize it, and it can translate it, and it can generate text all at once. Tons and tons of data all at once at the same time. Okay, and that's the kind of classic thing. That's why that's very effective for these kind of natural, what they call natural language processing, right? Of course, you can see robotics is one that everybody understands, but also when you talk about reinforcement learning, and one of the things for reinforcement learning, if I think of Amy Webb, there's different types of reinforcement learning, but basically the one that you'll understand more is you, right? Okay, how the AI gets data, it trains. It's called reinforcement learning through human feedback. So that's you. So when you're interacting, right, with your tools, your everyday, you've got computer vision here. When you're interacting with your smartphones, okay, when you're interacting with your social media, right? Amy Webb puts it really well. What she says is you no longer search the web. The web searches and scrapes you. So it takes the data off of you, your interactions. It feeds that into the machine learning processes. It feeds that in to the whole AI system, and it actually learns to be more efficient and more effective. And that's the key. When you think about the speed and the acceleration of AI and the different subfields, and when we integrate these things, it takes us to a totally different level. And that's really all we're necessarily interested in, okay? And what it can do, we'll see that in a minute. But the key thing again is when you think of all of these sub fields or subsets of AI, and we think of the technologies that lie behind them, it really allows us to explode AI and to provide us with new tools because that's what we're really interested in. Okay. One of the key things to remember here, again, just to add to this, is what I just call the Holy Trinity. Okay, which is just pretty simple, really. I'll get myself out of the way so you can see this. I'll make myself a bit smaller. There you go. So we've got three big things, and you should understand it. I just mentioned data there. We've got an explosion of data, of course, comes along. Again, you just think of those guys, the marketing guys, think of social media, right? Okay, we're exploding data all the time, and this allows the machine learning to learn, and for deep learning, which uses again these neural networks as they call them, to mimic the brain, and we see this in the large language models that we're using every day, such as in Claude and Llama and stuff like that. And they're all there. And more importantly, you need the computation and chip power underneath it here with the CPUs and the TPUs, which I think believe they're mainly, Google's really advancing them more than anything else. What again allows massive data sets to be processed, and it's that word there, simultaneously. And when we say massive, we're talking in the billions and now or trillions of data they're talking now. And why that sometimes a lot of times the guys they technically use the term tokens, which could be text or videos or parts of information or parts of words, right? So these are just the classic things to try to get your head around. Now I've got a whole glossary of terms. I can get into a lot more detail in every single one of them if you want that, but I don't think you necessarily need it. But it's good for you to be aware of it. Most importantly, if you want to look at the tools that associate with a lot of this. Go back to the classic MAD landscape here, and you'll see classic tools that give you absolute clear applications for finance, for marketing, for human resource management, for logistics, for all manners and areas of business. Okay, it's really useful for strategy, data management, all the rest of it, right? And tools, I'm going to give you tons in a minute. Okay, so I'll give you tons of tools here, right? Again, if you want to know even more detail on how AI is transforming how we work, how we learn, how we live, all areas of life, go to the World Economic Forum and you've got this fabulous tool here, and it goes into all these areas, as we say, from basically classic trade to mining to metals to healthcare, you name it, it's got it here. So please go in and have a look. Now, one of the things I want to kind of highlight is basically what I call classic tools, just to get your head around about it. When we talk about the subsets of AI and where it's taken us to, and when we integrate these things, what do we get? Well, we get what's this classic thing here is classic automation. This is just the classic AIs that you see. This is the rules bound stuff. It's really defined by rules. It does a definitive task. It's very fast because one of the things AIs are really good at being quick, right? But it's very basic and it can't really adapt. That then takes us, as we're now able to adapt, because we're now at what we call AI agents. And this is really about models, such as the large language models that you're using every day, probably. Okay. They can provide you far more detail. They can provide you with fantastic, information. They can summarize it and they can work away independently and they can come back. However, they're often only as good as the prompt that you give them. And I'm going to talk about prompts, prompt engineering, and context engineering in a minute. Okay, so the agents are only, the classic agents, if you like, in this sense, they're really still heavily dependent on those prompts. Now, the real fear we're going to this idea of what I would call agentic AI. If I say AI agents, it's agentic AI. This is agentic AI is the autonomous one, so that should say agentic AI in there, right? And it's more about autonomous. Simply put, this is where you can build an agent that can work proactively and autonomously. It can set its own goals, it can plan a series of work, give it a workflow, and off it will go. A simple example is, and you're going to get Theo actually in a couple of weeks. Theo and I will do this all the time. We've got AI agents that, for example, will take over my browser, right? So I'm maybe working something, I can let it take over my browser and it'll work away in a task and I'll go away and do something else, okay? And it'll come back and it'll tell me when it's finished, okay? And it'll go and gather that information, it'll bring it back and tell me, say, I want to get information or I want to get the latest articles and stuff. I want to, summarize them and disseminate them and put them into a slideshow or a infographic and send it to me every day at 12 o'clock. It'll do it, okay? Right? That kind of stuff. I kind of call them like little personal butlers. That's the easiest way of thinking about it to me. And interestingly, the personal butlers is this is part of the worry about AGI. Guys like Peter Norvig, for example, argues that when you get all these agents all working away simultaneously, they're all out there meeting other agents and they're all sharing information. And he's worried about the slippage in between when that's happening. And basically, the agents are doing something that they're technically not supposed to do. And that could produce, he would argue, artificial general intelligence. Probably never listened to that, but it doesn't matter. We can come back to it. A simple way of looking at agents is here, and I'll just play this and I'll just stay in frame because I can't be bored deleting myself.
Agentic AI is transforming every enterprise, using sophisticated reasoning and iterative planning to solve complex, multi-step problems. AI agents help marketing campaigns go live faster with instant insights, helping optimize supply chain operations, saving hundreds of millions in costs, and reduce software security processes from days to seconds by helping analysts triage vulnerabilities. What makes agentic AI so powerful is its ability to turn data into knowledge and knowledge into action. A digital agent, in this example, can educate individuals with insights from a set of informationally dense research papers. It was built using NVIDIA AI blueprints. These are reference workflows featuring NVIDIA Accelerator.
Okay, so that's just one example. And you'll get some of this kind of stuff here. Like you'll get platforms such as HeyGen, which is one of the big platforms for generative AI. Okay, and it will give you can make your own avatar. So you've got one here, the woman behind me. There's tons of these. You see loads of them in Synthesia and places like that. But HeyGen is probably one of the best ones. And then if you use platforms like ANA, you can actually build really fabulous, agents, integrating multi-agent, tasks, right? But HeyGen's an interesting one, and just to give you an idea here, because one of my bosses was asking me about language, because we've all the different international students, etc., and how could we speak in different languages. So I went away and built an agent, and a good example is this one, and I'll just stay in frame for this, because I can't be bored going out and coming back in. But this is me, as you see here. However, it's actually not me. It's actually a clone of me, right? Okay, that I built, okay, and I used HeyGen to do this. So that's me there, right? Or it's a clone of me, and I got it to speak or do the session in Greek. So I'll just play it. You hear what I mean.
Καλώς ήρθατε στο Future Marketing and Transformational Technology. Αυτό το μάθημα επικεντρώνεται στον τρόπο με τον οποίο οι ψηφιακές
Right, now the interesting thing is my friend Theo is Greek, so when I did it, of course, I did a sense check, which you should always do. You always check the quality, and obviously Theo speaks fluent Greek, and I says, "How good is it?" And he was very impressed with it. In fact, we sent it to a couple of other Greek friends who says, "I do Matt's been learning how to speak Greek." But the key thing here is we can not only make agents like this, which will do independent work for me, so it could go and do some stuff. It could make a lecture like this, probably do a better one than I'm doing, right? So the agent, it would look like me, it sounds like me, it does all this stuff, and it could talk in different languages. So if I have students from all over the world, it will take that content and it will translate it so I'm speaking their language and they're being educated by me in their language. But it's actually not me, it's an AI clone of me, okay? Which is again just an illustration of where we can actually take, agents, right? Anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop this and then jump in to the next session, and we're going to have a wee quick look at prompts.